Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Sharply higher following President Trump's announcement of a 90-day pause on some tariffs. It's 6 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Stocks rose immediately after Trump unveiled the news. This caused the Dow Jones Industrial Average to have its biggest rally in 5 years, and the S&P 500 posted its biggest gains since 2008. Charges are pending against a juvenile suspect following an incident this week at a school in Geneva. Police responded Tuesday to Geneva Middle School with word of a weapons complaint. The school was placed on lockdown for 2 hours while officers conducted their investigation. And the superintendent of the North Canton City School District is preparing to exit. Jeff Wendorf has announced his retirement effective at the end of the day, July 1st. The district says the search for a replacement is just beginning. In sports, the Guardians edged the White Sox 3-2, while the Pirates took down the Cardinals 2-1. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mainly morning showers with patchy fog. Highs today in the upper 40s. And last check, light rain 38 degrees in Cleveland. Akron and Canton, light rain 38 as well. And in Lorain and Elyria, they're one of the few places that don't have light rain. Cloudy skies and 38 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
Well, you can find one of the tallest waterfalls in Ohio nearby at Cuyahoga Valley National Park in Northfield. Brandywine Falls is a majestic 65-foot cascading fall that flows from the Brandywine Creek. It is one of the most popular attractions within the park. You can access the breathtaking waterfall by hiking the 3.6-mile Stanford Trail or the 1.4-mile Brandywine Gorge Trail, or skip the walk and drive to the boardwalk at the base of the falls. Either way, you are in for a gorgeous view at any time of the year. And that's your Moron Moment.
Moron.
And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 6:02. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine Studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3
Thursday from Mornings with Brian, Moody Radio Cleveland. Brian is out today, but I'm here. My name's Lauren.
Yay.
We've got Ron. Yay!
Thank you.
And
Thank you.
Daria. Yay!
Yay.
Daria, is our live stream up? Our new fancy live stream?
Yes, it is.
Yay! So check out the live stream if you've not done it before, or if you missed it yesterday. Either way, text live to 440-546-2255, and you'll get a link back to watch us on YouTube.
Now in higher resolution.
Now in high def. Is that what they say?
Yeah,
You
some
can say
people
that.
do.
You can. Not that they do, but you can say that. I did look at it. It looks very nice, Daria.
Thank you.
You've got our names on there.
Yes.
So you don't have to ever get me and Daria confused anymore.
That girl.
Yes. Okay, guys, I have a problem.
Uh-oh.
It's Dave Day. It's Thursday.
Yes, that's a problem, huh?
That is the problem. I already have a lot of questions myself for Dave. I was texting him yesterday because he's being mean to me about my mortgage rate.
Of
And
course.
then he decided to call. He literally called me last week and was like, "It's going to be fine. You're going to get a lower interest rate like in 4 days." So much so that I emailed my mortgage guy and I said, "Hey, put me on your list to be on the lookout for me."
Mm-hmm.
Then yesterday happened. And mortgage rates just go right back to where they were.
Oh, no.
And I texted Dave and I said, "Hey, what's this?" And he said, "I have an explanation,"
He always has an explanation.
but then didn't explain it to me.
I will say, though, Jimmy and I talked to Dave last week about the stock market, and so we managed to put our tax return in, and we're quite happy because we put it in like right before the hike. So
Oh, good.
Good job. Yes. So I've got a lot of questions for him on that. First of all, don't lead me astray. Don't be rude to me and don't tell me, don't get my hopes up.
Yeah. Well, he was right for a couple of seconds there, and you might have grabbed a good rate.
Yes. So I'll still be waiting.
Yeah.
With my 7.125 mortgage
I'm
rate.
sorry.
It's okay.
He told us before we bought our house, he's like, wait until this and this date because they're going to plummet. They did not.
And sometimes you just have to buy a house.
We did.
Right.
We did not want to stay in the house that we were in at the time, and so we're going to buy.
Yes. And for the amount of space I need with my children, renting was just going to be astronomical. So.
Oh yeah, no. Even though the mortgage rates are not great, we're still saving money on
Yes.
what we're paying for rent.
That's right. So I have to talk to him about that. I also have to talk to him about, we bought a clunker car. I affectionately call her Mrs. Clunk. Or Mrs. Clunks. She's horrible.
Clunkette.
Yeah, Clunkette. It's a 2002,
Okay.
I think, maybe 2005. I think 2002. Subaru Outback. She's gold.
Well,
and-
Subaru is a good thing going for you. 'cause
Yes.
Subarus
they're-
are good cars.
Yes, they are.
But 2002 is well past its prime.
Yes, she's pushing 100. And there's been like we haven't had to do much other than routine maintenance. We had something about some belts. I don't know car stuff, okay? Fix some belts. Then there was something else about a gas leak maybe, but it wasn't
That's not
detrimental.
good.
Yeah, it wasn't super detrimental.
Okay, gas leak is always bad, though. I don't care that it's not detrimental. Gas should stay in the little gas reservoir, okay?
Hey, this is what the guys said.
Okay.
The guys at the shop.
Uh,
So we were
What
able
do
to
they know?
save some money until we were able to get it repaired. So then we just got it repaired last week. Drive it for a day. Check engine light comes back on.
oh, no, Lauren.
So we take it back to the guys, and they said, "We don't have the equipment to look at this. You're going to have to take it to the dealer."
What do you mean you don't have the equipment?
He
Can
said-
you take a 2002 car to the dealership? Will they even look at that? Or will they say, get this off my lot?
I don't know. So because apparently this equipment's $10,000 to check whatever needed to be checked.
Wow.
I know.
On a 2002?
Lest I forget to tell you that suddenly the driver's side door doesn't work anymore. So my husband has to climb through the passenger side door every day.
Oh, my goodness.
He puts our children, both of them, in their car seats and then climbs through the passenger side door.
And it's not a single bench, right? It's bucket seats with a console. Ouch.
Yeah. And I obviously don't drive this car because she's a Mrs. Clunks and I drive 20 miles to work and then 20 miles back. So it's just scary. I had to drive it a couple weeks ago and I had to climb through the front and I said, no,
Yes.
This is not acceptable. I'm not climbing through, but he allows it.
What's it going to cost to, like, what's wrong with the door? That doesn't sound like a hard
That's what we have to
fix.
figure out.
Mm-hmm.
But the guys at the
Yeah.
place said, we can't fix this door because it's a 2002. You're going to have to go to the dealer.
I think they just don't
They don't want to deal with
They don't want
Mrs.
to mess
Clunks.
with your car.
Yeah, they're like, we're tired of Mrs. Clunks. We're tired also of us having to climb through the passenger side door because these are burly guys.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
mechanics. So we finally take her to the dealer yesterday, and now I have a little loaner car. And I'm taller than the loaner car.
Yeah, I thought that looked like a new car. I'm like, it looks similar, but that's not Lauren's car.
No. My husband drives up and yesterday goes, these are my vibes. These are my vibes of the type of car I want. It's like a little sporty something. I got in it today. I am towering over this car. And I'm not like tall.
It's a cute car, though.
It is cute.
It's another Subaru, right?
Yes. And it just zips around. It's all speedy. But here's my question for Dave. How come I'm trying to be good with my money and only buy a car with the cash that I have? Because I have to have a second car. It's just
Yes.
like not an option. We have to have a second car. We were trying to be good boys and girls and just buy with the cash we have. And she's a Mrs. Clunks. And she doesn't work. So what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. At some point, the cost of repairs
That's right.
would equal the cost of your interest payments on a newer car.
Exactly. So we're going to find out probably today. The Subaru dealership is going to say, here's how much it costs to fix the door and whatever this other electrical thing is.
Yeah.
But that's my question for Dave. Because, you know, he doesn't want people to get car notes. But sometimes I also don't want to buy a $3,000 car and then continue to dump money into her.
Right.
Yeah, I'm no expert, but I feel like just with the way the economy is and the way cars are now designed, I don't think you can do clunkers anymore.
No, I don't think so. With all you got the little chips and stuff.
Yeah.
They have all the chippies.
And if you were, or Eddie was,
Yes.
a car handyman, I'm not, so I'm saying this jealously, but those guys, they know, they have done enough tinkering that they would look at that door and they go, oh yeah, it's just this thingamabob.
It's a shaboodly doots.
Jimmy's
Yeah.
very good with cars. Should have called us first.
We'll see what Subaru says. And if it's $4 billion, we'll call Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy, fix it.
Let us
It's,
know.
it's warming up. Maybe he could just take the door off. And
Yes, it'll be a Jeep.
exactly.
It's a convertible Jeep. Subaru to Jeep edition. Oh, gosh. So, got some questions for Dave. Maybe you do too. Maybe you have a Mrs. Clunk's car. And so you got a question about that. You can text in with your financial questions, 440-546-2255. We are fully stacked up with interviews today and guests. We've got Roy from Galvanized,
Yep.
because he missed last week. He was at Disney World. That's what I'm saying.
shame.
He says he was in Orlando for business. I think he was at Disney World. So we've got Roy from Galvanized. Then we have Dr. Mark Caleb Smith from Cedarville. We're going to talk about tariffs, okay? Straight up. We're going to talk about tariffs. What is it politically? What are they used for politically? We've talked with Dave about economically, but we love to hear from a political scientist about. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's so great with him because what you're hearing out in the wild, you're going to hear one side saying, look, this is gloom
It
and
really is.
doom, you know, all these tariffs, it means the end of the stock market, blah, blah, blah. And the other side is saying, oh, this is perfect. We've needed this forever. And now Mark Caleb Smith is neutral. He's not going to sway one way or the other.
He's very good at giving both perspectives.
Yep.
Yes, he'll just tell you the facts. As Dragnet would say, just the facts, ma'am.
I don't know what that means, but I agree with you. So we've got Dr. Mark Caleb Smith on what's going on with tariffs and how are we using them politically. And then, of course, Dave Szfransky for a whole hour. Your financial questions. And I know you got questions because I saw the stock market yesterday, and I'm sure you did too, okay? So get your questions in for Dave now, or maybe you have a couple of questions for Dr. Mark Caleb Smith. Maybe he can answer some too. Brian is out. His family, I'm hoping they are not, but I'm hoping that they are on the road to go see Grace graduate from basic training from the Army. So pray for them as they have a 12-hour journey today.
Pray for them getting out the door. They
Yeah.
were shooting
Yeah,
for
there's-
6. There's no way they hit that with 6 people have to pile into a car.
No way. So pray for them if you think about them, and we're just really excited for them. It's 6:16 on Mornings with Brian. When we come back, should a Christian find contentment in being average?
Parents, youth pastors, are you looking for a life-changing opportunity for your teens this summer? The Experience Jesus Conference, June 23rd through 28th at Moody Bible Institute in Chicago, isn't just another event. It's a 5-day experience where high school students learn to share their faith on the streets of Chicago.
XJ grounded my faith and inspired me to share the gospel.
Register now at moodyconferences.com/XJ. Early bird rates end April 30th.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into. And that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge. But it's also true, people are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network. So, yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
Join the conversation by call or text at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Should a Christian find contentment in being average?
Is
What do
that
you
a
think?
question or
It is.
rhetorical? Yes.
Both rhetorical and a question. What do you think? Yes?
Yes,
Why do you say that?
because I'm very average.
No, Ron, you're extra special.
But
Yeah.
aren't we supposed to be like, do our best for Jesus?
But doing our best doesn't necessarily mean we are the best.
That's true.
I think it's okay to be average. Not everybody's exceptional. To quote The Incredibles, if everyone's super, then no one is.
Okay.
But no, there is something, just nice about being normal and average, I think, though.
There's an article from Psychology Today, and this guy says, being average has become a subtle failure in a world consumed by the extraordinary. From gold stars in elementary school to Employee of the Month plaques, from the curated perfection of Instagram to the race to become the best version of yourself, or our culture continually raises the bar. He gives some constant standards that are like keep creeping up.
Mm-hmm.
His first would be in school. In school, average was once the baseline, something to build upon, not to be ashamed of. Yet children are now pushed to become high achievers before learning to play freely. Straight A's aren't good enough unless they come with awards, extracurricular activities, and leadership roles. The bar keeps going higher. Social media only fuels this race. We don't just see people's highlight reels. We compare our unfiltered lives to theirs. We see 22-year-olds launching startups, traveling the world, and buying homes. And then in personal, we must be the perfect parent, the wellness guru, the mindful citizen, the perfect spouse, all preferably before 9 a.m. There's also this modern myth that you're wasting your potential if you're not optimizing every second of your existence.
Sounds exhausting.
Yeah, it does.
Sometimes I just need to sit on the couch.
Amen.
Yeah, I left, it was like a couple months ago, I left work early on a Friday, and I was like, I'm going to go home and I'm going to do all these tasks because my children aren't there.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sat on the couch and watched a show by myself.
Good for you. I'm sure you needed that. I also want to say about you see the young influencers, look at all this stuff I'm doing. There are entire companies built around helping people fake their successful lives. Like there are houses you can rent and warehouses you can go to that have all these different sets and things you can borrow. Like, look, I'm on a private jet. It's literally just a set.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a whole industry.
What a scheme.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my
and so they're
gosh.
barely making it, but they're
Or they're going into debt.
Or they're going into
Taking
debt.
these
Yeah,
trips.
that's another thing. But they're not actually doing as well as you think.
Because also, this is a side note, but I watched a video of some probably early 20-year-old, and they didn't know, they thought a credit card was just like free money. They didn't know they had to pay it. And so they're just racking up debt.
How do you get to be 20 years old and not know what a credit card is?
They thought their limit was how much cash was on the card.
Do I blame them, the school system, or their parents? That's shocking.
Yeah, all of the above.
Yeah, they just don't know. So there's these constant standards of creep: school, social, personal, but also work.
Mm-hmm.
You have your employee review, and it's like a 1 to 5 scale, and everyone gets 3s, and you're like, wait,
Right.
aren't you supposed to want to be a 5?
Yeah, you do want to be a 5, and you do everything possible and more, but the employer has passed down the word that nobody gets a 5.
Nobody gets 5s.
So then really 4 is the best you could ever get.
Right. So then being average, a 3, you're like, no, being average is great. And you're like, wait, I thought I was supposed to want to be a 5, but we're only being 3s. Mm-hmm. So there's all these ways that we have this standard of creeping, of trying to be better. The author goes on to say, there's dignity in just showing up in the daily, even when no one applauds. There's significance in being a reliable friend, a compassionate stranger, and a steady coworker. These roles seldom go viral, but they weave the fabric of society together in ways that fame and fortune seldom can. And then he lists the average jobs of people they don't get accolades, they don't get awards and prizes, they're not talked about in the meetings, but they are there every day showing up for their jobs and keeping it going.
And they're important. Our society is built on the backs of the people you don't think about, like postal workers and sanitation workers and all those people that are so important.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he says we should rewrite the meaning of a good life. And I'm going to talk about what he says first, and then after the break we'll talk about what does that mean as a Christian, because this is not a Christian article, it's just Psychology Today. We can live truly in the present when we cease racing towards the next milestone. We can discover contentment not in standing out, but in belonging in our families and our communities and ourselves. Rewriting the meaning of a good life. Redefining what matters requires courage in a culture obsessed with visibility. It involves rejecting hustle culture. It signifies choosing stability over spectacle, depth over speed, and authenticity over applause. So for us, what does it mean to make our lives good or meaningful? Maybe personally or just in a broad sense. What does it mean to make our lives be good or have meaning?
That's a good question. Part of it is your relationship with God is you want to do the best that you can as an example to the world. So then when people look at you, they say, this person's a Christian, and look, he does well. He works hard. He doesn't cheat. He doesn't go home early and clock out, have someone else clock him out, and all of those kind of things. But also to do well, I think you want to, for your personal health, that if you strive too hard and you burn out, you've not done well in that regard, because everybody in your life suffers. Your family, your friends, by you not being healthy in that regard.
I think your relationships, too. I think those can and should be a source of meaning. Your family, your friends, cultivating people around you that you can support and that can support you as well.
Yeah, I think a lot of times we try to find our meaning for our personal lives in our work. Mm-hmm. Or if you're, in college or in grad school, you find it in your grades or how well you're doing at school. Or sometimes even if you're in high school, you're a teenager, you try to find it in if you're popular or if people like you or how many activities you get to be a part of, how many sports you get to be a part of. And I love my job. I love you two. I love Brian. I love all of our coworkers. I love our listeners. But I do not find my worth or my meaning in this job. I can't, because jobs change over time. They change if, just like one colleague leaves, or if your boss leaves, or if you suddenly have to, go find a new job, your spouse gets a new job, you got to go do something else. I can't find my whole meaning in this job because it's temporary.
Right.
But does that mean I can find my worth or my meaning, a meaningful life, in my family and friends? I don't know. That's what we're going to talk about. Should a Christian find contempt in just being average?
I'm Joy Traxel, and this is Pause for Prayer. I love reading stories about people who've had a miracle happen in their lives, don't you? The stories inspire us and remind us that God is still in the miracle business. They didn't just happen during biblical times, but they're still happening today. I wonder if we can become too busy and possibly miss the workings of God. Sometimes when I am praying, I ask God to open my eyes to see His work and to not hold back. I don't know about you, but I want all that He has for me, and I want to be present for all of it. Let's pause and pray. God, we come to you today asking you to lean into us. May we feel your presence today and know that you are near. God, we thank you that you've created a way for us to communicate with you, the creator of everything. How incredible it is to know that we can bring to you our needs and requests at any time. We're so grateful for the resources that you have given to WCRF, and we ask that you continue to bless this ministry. God, thank you for your word and for giving us a reminder of your power and strength. Remind us that the power that calms storms, parted seas, and closed the mouth of lions lives within us still today. Miracles happened in the past, and miracles still happen today. God, help us to never forget that. God, many of us are praying for those miracles to happen. Spur us on to keep trusting you and your plan. You remind us in your word that our ways are not your ways. Oh God, help us trust your ways. Help us to not lose hope when we feel that you're not moving in our situations. Help us to trust you more each day. And God, when we are near those that are waiting, give us words to say that will be an encouragement. And we are trusting you now and pray all of this in the name of the miracle worker, Jesus. Amen.
Hey, my name is Brant Hansen, and I have a tough job. I have 30 seconds to tell you about the most beautiful Jesus-shaped thing I've ever seen in my life, and now more like 22 seconds, but it's Cure International Children's Hospitals. They do surgeries by the thousands every year, all in the name of Jesus. Tens of thousands become Christians every year in these hospitals. Imagine proclaiming the kingdom and healing the sick. It's that good. Check it out. There's nothing like it. More people need to know about this. It's cure.org/Moody, cure.org/Moody.
Today, there is a disciple-making church planting movement that's taken root in 40 countries around the world. It's called the Timothy Initiative, and its mission is to see a healthy church planted in every village, everywhere. Since 2007, over 200,000 churches have been planted through the work of the Timothy Initiative, but there's more work to be done. Take your place in the Timothy Initiative. Go to ttiglobal.org.
Bringing Northeast Ohio and Western Pennsylvania closer to Christ, one conversation at a time. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio, Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Christian find contentment in being average? It's 6:37 on Moody Radio Cleveland. Brian is out for the next several days. He is, I'm hoping, in the car driving right now. I pray that for him, that he is driving right now to Georgia to watch his oldest daughter, Grace, graduate from basic training. So we're excited for the whole family. They get to go do that. But a 12-hour drive is a lot. So they're hoping to leave at 6. So hopefully they did that, and hopefully they're not listening to us. So pray for them if you think of them. It's an exciting time for their family. We've been talking about finding contentment in being average, how society today is, what used to be average used to be fine, just like everybody's average. But then somehow, like the creep of needing to be better and better and better. Go on expensive vacations all the time, have houses that are way too big for your needs, cars that you're in debt for. Yes, everyone has to be perfect at every sport. You have to get all A's, no B's, and you have to go into, what's that called? Those higher classes at high school?
Oh, advanced placement?
Yeah, thanks. I obviously wasn't in them. And you have to have it now. Like, this is something I'm seeing specifically with my generation, is they don't understand that life is kind of like a ladder. Yeah. And when you see someone that, is older and it's because they've worked over their lifetime, you don't get that now. You have to wait your turn. Yeah. You need all of the perfect and good things and extraordinary things right now. So we were talking about an article from Psychology Today where the author was just talking about it's okay just to be average and being content in just the normal daily life things, like being a good friend, being a loyal coworker. You show up for people just every day. Maybe you're not exceptional or extraordinary. You're average, but you still show up for people and you still do a good job. You're just not striving to harm yourself and others to be extraordinary. So the question is, should Christians find contentment in being average? What do you think? Yes? No?
I think it shows humility. If you're striving to be excellent, why? Is it so that you will have a better resume, so that you can show off on social media, especially LinkedIn, if it's business you're striving in? What's the reasoning behind that? What's your heart condition? And for most people, that's not a good reason. If you're content with where you are, you're humble about what you do, not that you mail it in at work, but, you do your best. But I think being average is okay.
Yeah, I agree, Ron. I mean, you should do your best as an employee and as a friend, as a family member. But I don't think we should be flaunting things. I don't think we need to show off what we have on social media. Why do you want this or that? Why do you think you need to have the best, be the best all the time? And of course, we're not just gonna be the best quietly. We're gonna post about it.
Yeah, you can't just be the best in your own personal life. Everyone has to know about it. But wouldn't a Christian say that they need to be excellent because they're representing Christ? They have to do everything with excellence because we're doing it for Jesus.
Right.
Yeah. You should be excellent at representing Christ, but you don't need to be excellent in your finances. I mean, yes, you should be good stewards, but you don't need to have the $1 million home to show Christ. In fact, that can actually be a detriment sometimes.
Yeah. I looked up some verses on contentment for us. The article starts, whatever my lot. A believer's contentment is not to be affected by circumstances, but firmly rooted in the good news of Christ and what he has accomplished for sinners. The first passage, I'm going to read these because we're going to read them all the way through. 1 Timothy 6:6-10. But godliness with contentment is for great gain. For we brought nothing into the world, and we cannot take anything out of the world. But if we have food and clothing with all these, we will be content. But those who desire to be rich fall into temptation, into a snare, into many senseless and harmful desires that plunge people into ruin and destruction. For the love of money is the root of all kinds of evils. It is through this craving that some have wandered away from the faith and pierced themselves with many pangs. Skipping past some ones that I should have to pick my favorite ones, okay?
Okay.
Habakkuk 3:17-19. Though the fig tree should not blossom, nor fruit be on the vines, the produce of the olive fail, and the fields yield no food. The flock be cut off from the fold, and there be no herd in the stalls, yet I will still rejoice in the Lord. I will take joy in the God of my salvation. God the Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the deer's. He makes me tread on high places. Philippians 4:11-12. Not that I am speaking of being in need, for I have learned in whatever situation I am to be content. I know how to be brought low, and I know how to abound. In any and every circumstance I have learned the secret of facing plenty and hunger and abundance and need. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Matthew 5:6, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness, for they shall be satisfied. And I kind of like the little tidbit they wrote here. Those who hunger and thirst for righteousness recognize that God is the ultimate source of real righteousness. So they long for a righteous character to be evident in people's lives on earth. They shall be satisfied by responding to this invitation to be in relationship with him. What do you think?
I like a lot of those.
Do you think they apply here?
I do. Often you're striving for perfection, for excellence, however you would word it, is a sign of lack of contentment. And so if you're not content where you are, you more than likely won't be content with whatever you're striving for.
Yeah, and people aren't usually striving to be better at being a friend, being a disciple, being a parent or a child. They're usually, when they say I'm striving for something, their goals are usually monetary or the things I can accumulate or how far up the corporate ladder I can go.
Or accolades,
yes,
achievements, yeah. So maybe today we need to ponder on, are we content in where we are in life? And do we find content in being in Christ, in finding all of our accolades and achievements in his, because we're wrapped up in who Christ is. We're hidden in Christ. And so all of his achievements become ours. We get to, in front of God, we look like Jesus. So maybe today we learn to find contentment in what Jesus brings to us. It's 6:44 on Mornings with Brian. In just a minute, how do you care for your brain?
Pursue your passion toward shepherding, teaching, and ministry leadership with a Master of Divinity from Moody Online. You'll study systematic theology, pastoral practices, develop your skills in preaching and teaching, and be equipped to analyze Scripture through the lens of the original Hebrew and Greek texts. Take classes when and how it's most convenient for you with our flexible online option. Get started today at moody.edu/online.
From the world of the best-selling illustrated edition of Little Pilgrim's Progress comes a brand new adventure for early readers. The King's Cadets and Little Joe follows three young rabbit brothers as they dream of becoming soldiers of the King. They set off on daring missions, learning courage, wisdom, and faith along the way. Parents and grandparents will love sharing these stories and woodland illustrations with their little ones. Order The King's Cadets and Little Joe today at moodybooks.org.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from businesses across the country, like Fellowship Home Loans. Whether purchasing or refinancing a home, Mike and Brian walk hand in hand with clients through the whole process. You can learn more about their approach to mortgage lending at fellowshiphomeloans.com.
Moody Radio is thankful for support from North Coast Family Foundation, biblically based Christian counseling that uses practical tools to help marriages heal and thrive. More information is at northcoastfamily.com. That's northcoastfamily.com.
They say family knows you best. Here's Brian's older brother with a message for you.
Does it seem like your son or daughter will just not stop talking? My little brother is proof that not all hope is lost.
It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
care for your brain? Are you caring for your brain? Let's find out. 10 small things neurologists wish that you would do for your brain.
Okay.
Not just should, but they are wishing upon you that you do this. What do you think they are I want to know what you guys think.
Probably engaging in things that stimulate your brain, like puzzles and things like that.
Ron?
Mild exercise.
Mild. Ron is
you
wishing
have
it says
to
mild.
put that in there.
You don't have to have a 3-hour CrossFit section every day of the week.
Oh, okay.
But, like a half-hour walk or some form of exercise to increase your blood flow and also good nutrition.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Supposedly, I think fish is supposed to be good for your brain or something like that.
I know it's good for your eyes.
Well, my glasses would tell you that I don't
You don't eat
particularly
enough fish.
enjoy fish. So.
Oh, that's sad.
My husband doesn't either, so
Is he okay?
No. But also, I think he kind of is against eating fish in a landlocked state. So.
Oh yeah, no. My brother's a crab fisherman, so I refuse to eat any crab that was not from from the state of New Jersey because it's just disgusting. But there's still good fish that you can get here in Ohio.
You don't have to tell me. I love fish. Okay, 10 things neurologists wish you'd do for your brain. Wear a helmet.
Oh yeah.
Okay, makes sense. All day?
Oh my gosh, could you imagine? Physically protecting your head is the single most important step you can take to safeguard your brain. Recurrent head trauma from traumatic brain injuries and concussions can lead to CTE, chronic traumatic, encephalopathy.
Yeah.
CTE.
Yep.
Okay.
We
know what we're talking about here, CTE.
Big among athletes.
Yeah. Number 2, put earplugs in when you're mowing the lawn.
I wouldn't think of that protecting your brain. Like that's good advice for your ears, but I wouldn't think about your brain.
My lawnmower's pretty quiet. Neurologists.
Yeah, we have an electric mower. It's pretty quiet.
It's pretty quiet. Ron, what do you think?
I think that's wise. I'm well on my way to dampened hearing, and I've lost a lot of my high frequencies.
Oh.
And part of that, they say, is from first is percussive sounds.
It's from all your ragers.
That's probably it. But, wearing the headphones all the time in radio, you've got that sound put, right at your ear. And so that
you don't have to say that.
it's just true.
It is true. Wear them then when you're alone too, and it's important for your brain to receive that like dampening, like you kind of said. But they're saying
wear like
earplugs,
even when you're by yourself in the house. When you do that, I don't know. It just
because as soon as I do that, there will be an intruder that I can't hear. The moment I put earplugs in at home, there would be an intruder I can't.
I don't understand. Are they saying wear earplugs all the time?
Let's see.
It freaks you out.
Yeah.
Like your senses are off when you do that.
Yeah, it is. I'd have to read longer, and I'm not going to do that.
Okay.
But particularly when you mow the lawn.
Yes.
And probably just other loud
concerts too.
Things. Yeah, concerts.
Table saws when you're cutting your thumb. Yeah.
Well, yeah. Neurologists care about your fingers too, Ron. I did hear, I don't remember who said this. Maybe it was someone from my small group. But if you have like one thing, like if you have eye issues, you're starting to lose your sight or you're starting to lose your hearing, it starts to weaken your brain all around because you're not using one of your senses.
Huh. Interesting.
Get your eyes checked.
Yes.
It's not only about maintaining hearing. Scientists also believe vision loss is linked to cognitive decline. In one 2023 study found that about a third of adults over 71 who had moderate to severe vision impairment also had dementia.
Really? Interesting.
So like the two are going together. If you're starting to lose your hearing or your sight, it starts to age your brain. Number 4, take a walk.
Yeah.
Like
there you go, Ron.
And swap your chair for a stool.
Why?
Minimizing the amount of time you spend sitting or being inactive can also deliver benefits such as exercising. Because you're like using your body instead of being fully supported and like the seats that we're sitting in, fully supported. I don't have to do anything. I'm just like sitting here. But if you are on a stool,
there's no back support.
There's no back support, so you got to like sit up or you got to like put your toes on the ground, So there's that.
Or I can lean over and have really bad posture.
Use stools, boxes, benches on the floor. So, sit on the floor. Help your brain. Number 5, manage your cholesterol.
Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that would be tied to your brain, but it's
I think I've
good
actually heard of
advice.
that one.
The bad cholesterol that can come from consuming red meats, full-fat dairy, and sugary drinks can harden your arteries, restricting blood flow to the brain, increasing your risk for stroke or cognitive decline. Instead, eat legumes, whole grains, fruits, and veggies to help you manage cholesterol levels. Of course, along with healthy weight and aerobic exercise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm missing a page. Where's my number 6? Floss every day.
Oh, really?
What?
Okay.
I mean, like, yes, floss, but how does that help your brain?
Oral hygiene is essential for preventing infections and gum disease. Oral infections can spread to the sinuses, which can trigger clot or drainage problems in the brain.
I had no idea dental health was that important.
It's surprising. Your mouth, the infections that can come from, a cut or, whatever going on in your mouth can affect your whole body. If you get a joint replacement, they tell you that if you go to the dentist, you should get your penicillin or whatever antibiotic a week before.
I knew heart patients had to do antibiotics before they go to the dentist because apparently there's some connection with possible infection between your heart and your mouth.
Yeah.
It's just it's really interesting.
Goodness. Number 7, join a book club. Basically, maintaining an active social life.
Sure, reading helps
and mental,
too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Book clubs or gardening groups can do the trick, but even a scheduled monthly dinner with close friends or family members makes a big difference. Wear a mask on smoggy or smoky days.
Okay.
Because,
fortunately, we don't have that much of a problem.
Yeah, air
here,
pollution
but-
exposure is linked to cognitive decline. Number 9, watch your neck. I just like how they listed that.
I need a mirror to do that.
To protect your neck from injury, avoid any sudden twists or pulling adjustments. Avoid massage guns and deep
Really?
tissue massages on the neck. Stick to the back and upper shoulders with those things. And of course, wear a seatbelt.
Yes.
And number 10, everyone's favorite, sleep well.
All
yeah,
right.
people really underestimate how important a good night's sleep is.
Oh, yeah. A rested mind is crucial for brain health, as sleep helps consolidate memories and clear out cellular debris from the brain.
Cellular debris.
I didn't know my brain was in space. Space debris. So, Ron, are you going to start doing those?
Some of them. I try to walk more often, get some of that exercise. I doubt I'll join a book club.
But you have a social life.
A little
do
bit
stuff.
of one, yeah.
Daria, what are you going to do to help your brain?
I don't know. I feel like I could probably be more social, but I feel like I'm good at most of those others.
I think you're more social than the 4 of us that are here. So
I could be more social.
I'm going to start flossing every day. Actually, I already do, but I'm going to be very vigilant about it. Maybe I'll start twice a day.
Ooh.
I guess what's in your teeth after you sleep, but I'm going to do it.
I don't know that flossing twice a day is necessary.
Take it up with the neurologist,
Yeah.
Daria.
And it depends
Well, no,
what
but
you eat.
if you eat, you floss at night.
Exactly, I do.
And then you floss first thing in the morning. There's no food has gotten in there.
I don't know. Keep up with your brain health, okay? All of you.
Floss.
Floss. And wear a helmet. It's 6:58 on Mornings with Brian.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
joy in the journey. It's Mornings with Brian from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios. Good morning from Moody Radio Cleveland, WCRF Cleveland, WVMS Sandusky, WVML Millersburg, WVMN Newcastle, WVME Meadville, WVMU Ashtabula, and with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The House of Representatives is pushing to limit the power federal judges have to nationwide injunctions. It's 7:02. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Lawmakers passed a bill yesterday that would make it so judges can only provide orders that apply to the parties directly involved in a case, except in certain situations. The move is a pushback to a series of injunctions against several of President Trump's executive actions. Cuyahoga County law enforcement agencies are among those set to receive funding from the state to aid with the enforcement of drug laws and to combat illegal drug activity. Among the awards announced yesterday is more than $78,000 for the city of Bedford, more than $90,000 for the city of Bay Village, and more than $136,000 for the city of Cleveland. And the city of Akron is beginning Earth Day efforts early this year. Earth Day happens on April 22nd, but the city and the Ohio and Erie Canalway Coalition will be planting trees today on the Rubber City Heritage Trail. The city says they will be giving away a limited number of trees of the redbud, crabapple, serviceberry, and fringe varieties. In sports, the Guardians edged the White Sox 3-2, and the Pirates took down the Cardinals 2-1. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mainly morning showers with patchy fog and highs in the upper 40s. At last check, light rain still across most of the area. It's 40 degrees in Cleveland, 39 Akron and Canton, 35 in Ashtabula.
It's time for your moron moment.
You can find one of the tallest waterfalls in Ohio nearby at Cuyahoga Valley National Park in Northfield. Brandywine Falls is a majestic 65-foot cascading fall that flows from Brandywine Creek. It is one of the most popular attractions within the park. You can access the breathtaking waterfall by hiking the 3.6-mile Stanford Trail or the 1.4-mile Brandywine Gorge Trail, or skip the walk and drive to the boardwalk at the base of the falls. Either way, you are in for a gorgeous view at any time of the year. And that's your Moron Moment. And you can find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 7:04. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine studio. It's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Life can take our breath away. Tragedy can leave awake. A broken heart won't ever beat the same. And pain can stop us in our tracks, losing what we can't get back, shaking the foundations of our faith.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
7:08 on Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. Brian is out today and tomorrow and Monday and Tuesday. But he's doing something very good. He's going to visit his daughter, watch her graduate from basic training with the Army. So pray for them if you think about them. But don't worry, I'm here. My name is Lauren. Ron's here.
Yay.
And Daria's here.
Good morning.
And right now we've got Roy from Galvanized with us, which is a men's recovery ministry out of Grace Church in Middleburg Heights. Roy, you want to talk to us about the distorted truth. What does that even mean?
Good morning.
Hey.
What do you? I gotta say, I remember when Brian was talking about how he was like nervous about his daughter a little bit. Going, can you believe this time that she's already graduating?
Very fast.
Wow. When you said that this morning, I was like, it can't be.
I know.
It's been so. Wow. All right.
Zipped on by.
Well, yeah. No kidding. That's pretty awesome. Yeah, I was saying the distorted truth is what I wanted to talk to you guys about. It was something that we've been talking about at Galvanized lately. So for those that don't know, Galvanized is a men's recovery ministry at Grace Church in Middleburg Heights. And we end up dealing with all sorts of addictions. And one of the things that has really been, so when I come here on Moody, I always try to grab something that we've been finding relevant, or like sometimes things pop up and we realize like, man, we need to start talking about that. This is really going on and people are struggling with this. And the one is this distorted truth. So in addiction, and I think also in our normal life, Satan tries to distort the truth. And so I've been trying to talk to these guys about being on guard. And I was like, when is the first time? I look back and I see in Genesis 3, so Satan says, did God really say you must not eat anything from the tree in the garden? Right? And so right there in the very beginning, there was a distortion of the truth. There was a little bit of truth in there, right? There was something.
Yeah, that's
God
how he gets them.
Exactly. He did say not to eat something. He didn't say you can't eat anything from anywhere in the garden. But there was a little bit of truth, just enough to kind of throw it off. It kind of bring this little level of distortion. There's this guy, and there's this guy, and he comes to Galvanized, and he got married, and he was trying to get his life together. He thought getting married was going to be the solution. And through a series of, all you need to do is get married, and you'll find out. It really helps identify.
It shows your flaws.
Up, right?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Exactly right. So after a little bit of time, they find themselves early in marriage and in counseling, and the counselor looks at him. He thinks the counselor is going to look at her, but the counselor looks at him and says, "You have a substance abuse problem. You need to stop drinking." He's like, "Whoa!"
And he'd never admitted that to himself before.
Didn't really put two and two together. He works in business, and you go on business trips, and you drink socially, and didn't really tie this together. So in a little level of analysis of his life, he finally, to be happy, he kind of succumbed to the idea, okay, maybe he's got an alcohol problem. But the thing that he didn't admit was that he was doing drugs too. And I'll say doing drugs, and sometimes the term drugs sounds like, like I almost said Hill Street Blues. Ron, they don't know what I'm talking about.
Right.
Don't know what you're saying.
Oh gosh, makes me feel old. But like it makes you think of like TV or like something like The Junkie, right? But it's, I know with marijuana being legal in the U.S. or in Ohio, in so many places now, it's becoming much more abundant. But even just smoking pot or smoking whatever he was doing this, and his wife didn't know, and they're this good Christian family. So the thing here is that Satan again distorted the truth. He kind of was like, yeah, I'll admit this failure so that we can, but he didn't admit all of it.
Yeah, I'll admit one part of it, and I'll hide the other part.
Yeah, exactly. And so as you can imagine, he didn't get the results that he was hoping for.
Yeah.
Because there was a break. And so in our step 3 in a recovery program, so the first phase of recovery is where we really get this situation with God right. It's got nothing to do with the addiction part. It's getting right with God. So you get our will in our life. We're going to turn our will in our life over the care of God. And that means our thoughts and our actions. It's like turning over the control of taking care of our issues. The physical part is fairly easy to see. It's fairly easy to identify. All you need is a mirror of any sort, whether it be a job, a family member, a friend, that can kind of look and reflect and go, wow, you know what, Lauren, I'm concerned. Like that, like you got a DUI. Like normal drinkers don't get a DUI, right? And then, so that reflected. But the cognitive part isn't always so apparent. So like turning over, isolation, lack of follow through, negative self-talk, all these things are the underlying factor that leads to the addictive. The addictive behavior isn't the problem as much as I think I had the misconception is, you just need to stop drinking.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. But it turns out not drinking isn't the problem. Drinking is a solution to the problem. Drugs are a solution to the problem. So
it helps you forget or get away from what the actual problem is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right here is where Brian always cuts me off.
Yeah. You want me to cut you off too?
Yeah, you may as well.
So we've been talking with Roy from Galvanized, a men's recovery ministry. In just a minute, how can we admit our powerlessness, whether that's just in your own spiritual life or if you are an addict of some kind? How can you admit your powerlessness and get help?
If you're 65 or older, you know this. Seeing your healthcare costs go up and up is frustrating. And maybe you were just notified that your Medicare costs are increasing again, or you're just tired of the massive deductibles. Well, here's some good news. There's a program that can really help with this. It's MediShare 65 Plus. It's an affordable, reliable alternative. You can choose any Medicare provider. You get telehealth access anytime you need it. And MediShare 65 Plus is a low-cost option for those with Medicare Parts A and B, and it fills in the gaps where Medicare stops. MediShare is a Christian healthcare community that aligns with your faith. People actually pray for you. They encourage you, and it's proven, too. It's been going strong for over 30 years now. So call now. You can get one low monthly price for up to 10 years. You're not stuck with increasing costs. You can do something about this today. Call MediShare 65 Plus. Find out how much you can save. Call 833-59-SHARE. That's 833-59 SHARE. 833-59-SHARE.
Millions of children throughout the world lack one simple item that could open the door to health, education, opportunity, and Jesus: shoes. This spring, Moody Radio and Buckner International are partnering with you to provide hope to kids in need throughout the world by providing new shoes and socks, critical care, and the love of Jesus in some of the most vulnerable places. Right now, more than 42,000 children are waiting for the first gift of new shoes. Give today at GiveShoesNow.com.
Join the conversation by call or text at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
6:20 on Mornings with Brian, Moody Radio Cleveland. We're talking with Roy from Galvanized, and we've been talking about the distorted truth. So for those just tuning in, Roy, give us like a one-sentence overview of what you discussed earlier.
So Satan distorts the truth. We believe the lies, and it's very difficult to make life corrections, direction corrections, when we're not seeing the truth or the whole truth.
And how does that play out
where we come to
in recovery?
So it's funny. So we were talking through about, I gave an example of a guy who admitted one part of a problem but didn't see the other. And then it's funny because I sit there and I said, I'm my own commercial segue, right? Every time I come on, I'm like, hey, don't we need to take a commercial break? And Brian always looks at me. He's like, what, do you work here? You know, it's like I see the clicker coming down. And I'm like, why do I do that? And I thought, we just went through this break. And I thought, why do I do that? And I thought, I think I only do that because I don't want you to have to interrupt me. And so it goes back to a part of, again, let's go back to Satan trying to corrupt the lie in us. I am now coming on, assuming I stay sober from mind-altering substances, I'll be 20 years sober pretty soon here in the next couple months. And that's a long time to be away from the drug and the alcohol and the whatever. But Satan is still dipping away at me. Yeah. So I have this opportunity that's coming up, okay? And in my personal life, I have an opportunity that's coming up on Monday. And just yesterday, I started to rationalize the opportunity into like a sympathy opportunity. Like, they're just giving me this opportunity as a formality. And I started to like turn myself. It was almost like Satan took a little bit of the detail. And then I'm at youth group. I'm a youth group helper, whatever, at church. And I'm at youth group last night. And there's this song called The Altar. And it's by Elevation Rhythm, I think is the name of it. I didn't know who it was. I had to look it up. But it says there's no waste at the altar. That's like their ongoing, like their reoccurring thing. I thought, you know what? Why do we think that there's waste, like that our sacrifice is waste? Why do I feel like even 20 years working on myself, I feel like, I need to segue my own commercial break. Why is that? Because Satan is very powerful and he is a worthy adversary that we have to be very aware of. And we can't take it lightly. With Christ, we can overcome this. It's not even a fight. But if we're not aware, like if I go back to that story of the gentleman that gave up the drinking, but he neglected to demise the drug part, right? So admitting this powerlessness, unmanageability, the first thing is to understand, I think, that the enemy is here to kill and destroy all things that are good in our life. And that means an opportunity. He doesn't want me to succeed on Monday. He doesn't want me to, because then what? Then, you know what I mean? He wants to keep me isolated. He wants to keep me because remember I said earlier that the addiction, the manifestation of the problem, the drinking, the drug, the pornography addiction, the gambling addiction, whatever they are, those are the result of the problem, not the problem itself. It's funny, like in classic AA, there's a lot of these like taglines. You probably see bumper stickers that says like, one day at a time or easy does it. Like I've seen these things around. I was like, why would you put that bumper sticker? Turns out these are some of the AA cliches or taglines. And one of the things is, I just drew a blank on what I was saying, but it's this idea of this one day at a time concept that forget it. I forgot I don't know what just happened. I think I just didn't have enough coffee this morning. I just do a total brain meltdown.
That's okay.
We need to approach Satan with a level of humility because he is relentless to destroy us. And not being prideful or arrogant, even about our recovery, is important. Yeah. You can't just be like, oh, yeah, if I just take care of this, I know the catchphrase was alcohol is but a symptom. And if it's but a symptom, then what's the problem, right? It's the thinking problem. It's the thinking that, I can handle it. So Satan being a master at distorting a truth, that's where the overcoming starts. So being in community with the right people, for me, has become key, right? So I go to somebody that I care, love, and trust. That mirror, remember we talked about earlier, I said, if you get married, that's a great way to identify your flaws. Because when you're by yourself, nobody yells at you for not hanging up your clothes. But I woke up this morning, and it's like 5:45 in the morning, and my wife looks at me and she goes, "You really need to stop putting your clothes in a pile in the closet." I'm like, "Good morning, I love you." I just like kiss her and walk out the door. Like, that's where we get, like, if I lived by myself, nobody would ever yell at me to hang my clothes up in the closet.
No
right?
one would see the dirty clothes.
But also, would I become more diligent? Probably not, because I wouldn't be driven for that next level of excellence without that mirror being in front of me. So having a recovery community is really key, because the guy that said the drinking and the drug thing back in the original story, we all knew that there was a problem. And we were the ones that were kind of poking him going, it's great that you stopped drinking. But you do realize that smoking weed is you're lying to your wife and you're bringing a lie into your marriage. And anything that hides in the darkness is going to destroy your marriage. It's not going to build you up. It's not going to strengthen who you are as a Christian. It's going to just tear you down. So keep walking away from this, I think the idea is understand that Satan is going to try to distort the truth in addiction and in all of our real lives. I say our real lives, for you normal people, right? And then be diligent, be aware. And in engineering, we always say that you should inspect what you expect. So if I give you a task and I'd like it to produce a particular result, I should inspect what I'm giving you. Periodically, final product, whatever. I shouldn't just assume, if you were to have a house built, would assume you would commission the house, and you wouldn't just tell the architect and then just show up when the house is done and walk inside and go, wow, it's not exactly like I thought, right? You'd show up, you'd look, and you'd say, well, why did they put, I don't think I want the island this close to the sink. I think I want it moved. You would inspect. You would want to see, are they framing it correctly? Are they doing the things with quality? And in that, you need to be willing to turn your thoughts and your actions over to God, not just some of them, but all of them. That includes the negative self-talk. You have to become willing to be cut off on the radio before they go to the commercial break and not feel hurt about it like you did something, right? So that's kind of the synopsis of it. Be careful, because Satan really distorts the truth. And if we get caught in that, he'll get us.
And do you think a way that he distorts truth for those who are going through recovery is that, alcohol is the problem or drugs is the problem, so that you never actually deal with the real issue?
Yeah, some of it. I think it's also like, well, couldn't you say it like this? Well, just don't smoke crack cocaine. I mean, weed's legal. It's just like wine.
Right.
So what's the big deal? I mean, it's not like I'm doing anything wrong.
I'm not doing illegal things.
It decriminalizes it. It kind of makes it. The problem isn't that I'm smoking weed and drinking every night. It's that I keep fighting with my wife. I just got to figure out how to control my temper. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right. But the thing is, you're bombarding your body with a chemical substance, and your body is trying to react. Your emotions are more sensitive. You're more on fringe. You're more reactive, and you don't realize that you're dumping garbage. You wouldn't put salt and miscellaneous substances into the gas tank of your car and then question why your car runs so poorly, right? There's a reason that you put a higher grade of gas into a more fine-tuned vehicle. You have to do the premium or the plus or whatever. It's because it needs that higher fuel, the higher quality of fuel refined to run on. And our bodies are the same thing, but we think that we can dump a poor diet. We were just talking about mental health, the earplug thing, right? We think we can go with no sleep, a bad diet, fast food, junk, smoking weed, drinking, smoking cigarettes, dumping all this garbage into the gas tank of our vehicle, of our body, and then still get excellent performance.
Right.
And it's kind of like, we're crazy to think that way. Where's the distorted truth? Like, Satan will distort the truth and make it so readily available. Yeah, there's fast food on every corner, so it's probably good for you. Well, is it? Right? Where's? I need my wife to look at me and go, hey, you're kind of getting chubby, big boy. Maybe you need to lose a couple pounds, type of thing. You guys it makes my wife sound awesome, right?
No, we've met her. She's the best.
I hope she's listening.
So if people want to start their journey with Galvanized, where can they go? Even if maybe they're not sure if this is the right next step for them, can they come join you at Galvanized?
Yeah, the cool part about Galvanized is it's not like a class where you have to sign up. It's not like you have to commit to the 16-week thing. You know, we're real open, remarkably friendly, and easy to walk into. I know walking into a recovery meeting is scary, and I can always see the look on the guy's face that is there for his first time. You can see them a mile away. They look like a deer in the headlights, right? So that you see them, and when we see you like that, we're the first ones to walk up to you and welcome you. Come on in. Hey, you know, you could just show up and just check it out. You don't have to commit and be like, oh, I'll be here every 6. You can just show up. You can sit and listen. You can see if the story reflects for you. You can go to gracecma.org and search for Galvanized. You can go to galvanized.life. That's our website where you can get a little bit of information. Or you can just show up. We meet at Grace Church in Middleburg Heights. Our main meeting at 7:30 on Friday night, so tomorrow night at 7:30. And we're having pizza tomorrow night. We're supposed to have a guest speaker, and we got a little bit distracted on that, but we're still going to have dinner tomorrow from 7 to 7:30. And then, it's free to show up and just come and check it out.
If this conversation resonated with you, if you feel like you might need to take that next step in a recovery journey, we encourage you to join Galvanized. Say that the Mornings with Brian team sent you. We would be happy to do that on your behalf. So go to gracecma.org to find out more. Thanks for joining us today, Roy.
All right. You guys are doing a great job without Brian.
Thank you so much.
Is this going to be called The Lauren Show now? Is that what we're just going to do?
No, we're not allowed to do that.
You're not allowed to because of me. All right. Well, keep it up.
Thanks, Roy. Again,
guys. See ya.
Go to gracecma.org if you would like to join the men's recovery ministry called Galvanized there. It's tomorrow night. Go now.
Unifying, encouraging, networking. The Cleveland Leadership Prayer Breakfast returns on Thursday, May 8th. Join us for breakfast, networking opportunities, prayer, and an inspiring call to fearless leadership. From former Army Ranger Jeff Struker, his experience in the Battle of Mogadishu is part of the Hollywood blockbuster Black Hawk Down. To purchase tickets, text prayer to 440-546-2255 or register by April 30th at neoleadershipevents.com.
Hey there, I'm Brant Hansen, and they call this the best kept secret in the world, and it needs to not be a secret anymore. It's the work of Cure International Children's Hospitals, 8 top-notch surgical hospitals healing kids in the name of Jesus, and this is the best part, openly, brilliantly sharing the gospel with the kids and their families as they heal. 18,000 surgeries last year, 40,000 plus people making decisions for Christ. This should not be a secret. Check it out for yourself. You'll see what I mean. Cure.org/Moody, Cure.org/Moody.
Are you looking for candid conversation from a biblical perspective? You found it. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
It's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studio. Whether it's your faith or your health, you don't have to journey alone. We are joined by Dr. Mark Caleb Smith. He is the Dean of the School of Arts and Humanities and Professor of Political Science at Cedarville. And as Daria just called him, our political czar. So
you have too many titles.
It's true.
That's a pretty big business card.
That would be so fun. You could just change your business card, political czar, and just like throw it around at places.
I like it. I've always wanted to be a czar. So
Yes, now you are.
I will embrace this title. Thank
You're
you.
a czar for us. So, Dr. Smith, tariffs, okay? It's all we've been hearing about for, I don't know, it feels like 100 years. And it's like they're on, they're off, they're paused for 30 days, they're paused for now 90 days. We're just doing it to these people, but not these, and now we're doing it to everybody. What's going on? What's going on with tariffs?
If I tell you something right now, by the time our segment ends, it might be different. So
It's so
whatever
true.
I say, we'll have to take into account that things have changed pretty quickly. So yeah, it's sort of like Punxsutawney Phil, right? I mean, is he going to see his shadow or not? Are we going to have tariffs today or tomorrow? I really don't know. Right now, where we are is there's a 10% global tariff on everything coming into the United States. And we also have a tariff on everything, a higher tariff on Chinese goods. I want to say, what is that, like 184% or something like that? 125%, I think, effective immediately. Still a tariff on autos coming in from out of the country. Besides that, everything else is sort of at this baseline of 10% for the moment. And so, as you all know, I mean, yesterday, President Trump decided to pull back on the other tariffs that were in place. But this 10% is still a pretty significant shift.
So we're keeping the 10% global, but all the other ones that were about to take place are no longer taking place for now.
That's right. They've been paused. President Trump says so that he can negotiate with other countries. I think it's also obviously because the markets were just melting down. The S&P had lost 12% over the past week. And for those, I have tried, studiously not to look at my 401k.
Yeah, me too.
During the last
It's
week.
really hard.
And hopefully the rest of you have not looked at yours either. And so President Trump, I think, pays attention to the markets. And he also got an awful lot of pressure from what I've been reading yesterday from Republican lawmakers, from foreign leaders and other people who really tried to argue with him that this was a bad path to go down. And so for now, he's pulled back at least some of the more excessive tariffs. But again, I don't think we should minimize this 10% global tariff on incoming goods is a significant tariff all by itself.
So if we're to kind of backtrack a little bit, let's start with what even is a tariff for those who maybe, I'm hearing all about them, but I have no idea what this means.
Yeah, that's a great question. So a tariff is basically a tax. I think it's the easiest way to think of it is as a tax on a good coming into the United States of America. And I think there's this misconception that tax or that cost is paid by the foreign government that the good comes from, but it's really paid by the company or the person who's importing the good into the United States. So I'm not an expert in tariffs, thankfully, but for example, for simplicity's sake, let's think of Walmart as an American company that sells an awful lot of imported goods from places across the world. If there's a 10% tariff on those, Walmart, as the importer of those goods, would have to pay an additional 10% to whatever they've already agreed to pay for the product that's coming overseas. And so if Walmart's buying T-shirts from Vietnam and it costs $100,000, you have to add 10% to that now. So it's $110,000 they will have to pay for that. The 10% going to the tariff, the $100,000 for the good itself. And so because of that, I think you can expect to see almost an automatic 10% hike on goods that are coming in from outside of the country. So these importers, I think we have this conception that these businesses just have piles of money sitting around. Some of them do, but many of these businesses really run a pretty tight and efficient approach, and they've sort of had this expectation, here's what I'm going to pay, here's what I can sell it for. Well, now my cost just went up 10%. I've got to shift those costs somewhere. I can't just eat all those costs. and most of them are going to go to the consumers who are actually going to buy the good. And so now your $10 T-shirt from Walmart might cost $11, but that would be true also for obviously everything else that we could be importing.
And now politically, what is the goal or purpose of using a tariff?
Well, this is where I think President Trump has been, and the White House, I should say, has sort of been all over the place when they talk about their goals. And I guess you could have multiple goals attached to it. And so it's a little bit of a moving target, though. At one level, they say we're going to use tariffs to raise money. And so we're going to take this money that's paid by these importers, and we're going to apply it to the national debt. We're going to have more revenue. You could argue that maybe we're going to impose these tariffs to encourage more businesses to locate to the United States. Mm-hmm. So if we make it so expensive to import those T-shirts from Vietnam, then maybe those factories, maybe people will have an incentive to build factories in the United States to make T-shirts so that then we can sell them domestically instead of relying on Vietnam to produce them. So that's one motivation. Another one that President Trump has claimed is that it's really an emergency that's causing him to do this, particularly over fentanyl coming into the United States. Mm-hmm. He says tariffs are going to be one way that we can deal with the fentanyl problem. We can talk about all these motivations to whatever degree you want. I think that's probably a harder justification in some ways. And so I think in the best case scenario, President Trump wants to lower the tariffs of other countries on our goods, where he says, okay, I want you to lower your rates of whatever you're charging on our stuff, and this is just a way to negotiate through that process.
And I think that's been, from what I've seen, a big point of this is we've been being charged tariffs for a long time at a much higher rate. And so this feels like maybe we're kind of evening out the playing field. Is that true?
I think that's probably true in some cases, but I think it's also clearly not true in others. And so I think one of the things that makes this really difficult to talk about is the global approach that the administration has taken, even by putting tariffs on countries that have no tariffs on our products. So, yesterday, the president of Switzerland called President Trump, and she was trying to argue with him that we've eliminated our tariffs on all incoming U.S. goods. We did that a while ago. Why would we have this additional expense put on our goods going into your country? You're one of our biggest markets. You're going to devastate some industries within Switzerland. And so I think there's some justification maybe in some countries' cases that we want to lower their tariffs to make our goods more competitive. But it's also true in a lot of these other instances that it just doesn't quite apply. I think, and we can talk more about this, but I think what really seems to be driving President Trump is he has this idea that a trade deficit between countries means that we're getting ripped off. That's how he kind of puts it. Mm-hmm. And this using tariffs is a way to deal with the trade deficit. In his mind, this is the best tool to do that.
Okay. It's 7:45. After the break, I do want to know more about kind of the history of tariffs. Yeah. Have other past administrations used them? Is this the first time? And that kind of stuff. It's 7:45 on Mornings with Brian.
The Music of Praise and Worship channel can fill your spring days with lyrics that connect seasonal renewal to spiritual rebirth. As flowers bloom, these songs remind us that the same God who restores creation is working in our hearts.
My promise and is you.
The Praise and Worship channel online at praiseandworship.org or in the Moody Radio app, a ministry of Moody Radio.
This is David with the ministry India Partners, and since teaming up with Moody Radio, here's the impact that you have made. Girls as young as 8 have been rescued from a hopeless future and work that no one should ever have to do.
When I first got to the safe house, I was so happy to be safe and out of the red light area. I felt love like I had never felt before.
They're given 3 meals a day and life-saving health care.
When I was brought to the safe house, I didn't even weigh 50 pounds. I feel so healthy and safe here, safer than I ever knew I could be.
Plus, you've made a kingdom impact.
I also remember going to church for the first time. Now I read my Bible and worship Him every day.
And these girls know how it's all possible.
Thank you, Moody Radio.
Learn more about how India Partners is rescuing girls from being trafficked. Go to indiapartners.org/Moody.
Your day is starting off strong with Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.50 on Mornings with Brian. We are talking with Dr. Mark Caleb Smith about tariffs. Ooh, spooky, but not really. You're helping us figure it out. So I'd like to talk more about how have past administrations used, not used tariffs, because it feels really big right now, but I'm sure this is not the first time. So I want to talk about what's happened in the past.
Yeah, I mean, tariffs have been around in America since we've had a country. We've always had sort of a policy with how to deal with goods being brought into the country. And it's also true that through much of our history, things like tariffs and excise taxes and other sorts of things really funded the federal government. And sometimes President Trump talks about how tariffs raised so much revenue like in the 19th century, and he wants to go back to that model. And I think there's some element of truth to that. A couple of things to note, though. The Constitution gives Congress the power to do this, and so Congress has the power to regulate commerce with foreign nations. Congress also has the power over taxes and duties and impose excises and so on. But what we've seen, Congress has slowly but surely sort of given big chunks of that power to the executive branch. And particularly in 1977, they passed a law that gave the president the power to do these kinds of things in emergency situations. and that's really the law that President Trump is relying on to do a lot of what he's doing right now. And so we have had tariffs in the past. They have been used. They have been a significant source of revenue. And I think President Trump sort of sees that as a path forward. A couple of differences, though. The federal government in the 19th century was a pretty different government than what we have now. And I'm assuming President Trump would say, yeah, that's the point. We need to have a smaller government that's more efficient and isn't really as bloated as what we have now. But the government we have now pays for things like Social Security and Medicaid and Medicare. The government in the 19th century didn't have anything resembling any of those programs. And so it's just a much different approach to government then. And so it's hard to know that tariffs would really do what he's promised that they would do, given how much really we spend now at the federal level. So tariffs have been around. It's not all that shocking, historically speaking, but it is really unusual to see what's been done here in the last couple of months. We haven't really seen a president do anything really like this outside of a war situation where presidents often use this kind of power pretty extensively.
And how is it going with other countries right now? I know that there's been a couple of pauses because other countries are coming back to say, okay, let's discuss. So what are those conversations looking like, and how is it moving forward for us as the United States?
Yeah, a lot of countries have have reached out to the administration. They claim 70-plus countries have reached out to try to negotiate over the tariff rates that have been put upon them. And so we know that some conversations are happening on all these fronts. We know that China has retaliated directly against our tariff, and so China has levied an 84% tariff now on all goods going into China. And as I said before, our tariff on China is at 125%, and so that's still there. They're retaliating. And, of course, that's a really large economy in the world, and so we have two of the major economies in the world essentially conducting a trade war right now, and there's going to be a lot of fallout surrounding that. But I think what you've seen is really a lot of global shock to some extent at what's been going on. And the EU in particular has really been, I think it's safe to say, outraged at what's going on. They feel like they should have a strong, positive relationship with the United States, and they feel like this has sort of been a betrayal of that relationship. And I think you could also say Canada and Mexico also have argued that really this is a betrayal of our historic relationship with Canada and Mexico. And, with them, we've had a free trade agreement. President Trump negotiated agreement with those two countries while he was in office last time. And basically he's tossed that aside and levied tariffs on both of those nations. And so I think that the big surprise is that this really wasn't done through negotiations ahead of time. And I suppose President Trump's point has always been, well, the tariffs are necessary in order to kickstart negotiations. But that still created quite a shock around the globe.
Do you think that it is time that there needs to be a shakeup with other countries for tariffs, for trade back and forth? Maybe not Canada and Mexico, like you stated, that have had free trade, but maybe other ones. Is it time to do that? Maybe there needs to be a change.
I have to be really clear. I mean, I have really strong biases in this area, and so I should put those on the table whenever I talk about it. Yeah. I grew up as a Reagan kid, and my approach to trade, and so I'm a free trade sort of person. I think free trade is better for our country. It's better for the world to have as free trade as possible. And it is true sometimes other countries haven't engaged in free trade practices with us. I think China has been the most egregious trade partner. And so I'm all for punishing China. I'm all for using this mechanism to go after how they've treated us in a host of ways. And so I have no issue with that whatsoever. But I think free trade is generally going to be better for us, better for Americans, better for our jobs, and better for us to get goods and services at low prices. And I understand we scoff at that sometimes and say, well, is the American dream really about that $10 T-shirt? Well, when a lot of the goods that you buy are a lot cheaper because of free trade, then really a lot of your wealth is tied to the ability to buy these products at very low prices. And when those prices go up, we're going to all feel the pinch of it. And so I'm okay with America being aggressive in some ways, but I think we have benefited tremendously from free trade. Since World War II, we've really been the leading economic power across the globe, and I would argue a lot of that's been because of our approach to trade. And so I think it's been good for America to be leading in this direction, and I kind of see what's happened as a step backwards. But I'm biased, as I said, and I understand they would probably argue I'm being insensitive to people and to communities who've maybe struggled with a decline in manufacturing jobs and a decline in economic circumstances. I get that, and I understand that there are real consequences for free trade, but I think the benefits pretty far outweigh those consequences.
So kind of briefly, in the short term, what can we expect with these tariffs if they do cut? So there's going to be the 10% no matter what.
Yep.
But if the ones that have been put on pause for 90 days, those come through, what's the short term and long term things we can expect from those?
I think you're going to see inflation start to tick back up pretty significantly because, as I said, this is really going to be an increase in prices on a whole lot of things that we buy. And I think that you're probably hopefully going to see some negotiations take place, and so there's a little bit more stability in the system. In the long term, the old economic joke is in the long term we're all dead, in the sense that economists are not exactly famous for their jokes. So you do have to laugh when they come, I think. But I think the long term is really difficult here. I think President Trump has a very clear idea of what he wants to do. I think what he's tried to do has had a pretty stiff pushback. And it's really tough for me to know what the next 6 months or much less 3 or 4 years look like, because I think he has a really strong idea. He's kind of pulled off for now, but will he go back in the future? I just really don't know. I really don't. And I'm not trying to be evasive. I just think he has sent so many different signals that right now it's hard to know what the future looks like. And the business world, if it likes one thing, it likes certainty. It likes predictability. And I think this sort of uncertainty and volatility is really what's created a lot of the chaos that we're looking at right now.
We've been talking with Dr. Mark Caleb Smith of Cedarville. We have now dubbed him our political czar, keeping us informed of what's going on politically. Thank you so much for being with us this morning and for being open and honest with us. If people want to learn more about Cedarville, they have grandkids, or they're looking into school, where can they learn more?
Cedarville.edu, and you can get access to all of our programs and contact information and how to apply and financial aid and everything else. So thanks to you and thanks to all your listeners. It is always fun to talk to you all.
Yeah, thanks so much, Dr. Smith. We'll talk to you next month. It's 7:59 on Mornings with Brian. Everyone that is listening to me now, take a big, deep breath. We're all going to be okay. Okay? We're going to be okay. Up next, we have Dave Szfransky, and I'm sure we'll talk more about tariffs with him. You know what? I'm just going to guarantee it. We'll launch right into tariffs with Dave Szfransky. What's happening with the stock market because of what happened yesterday with the pause on tariffs. We will do that in just a few minutes.
Loving God with our hearts and our minds. It's Mornings with Brian, live from the North Coast Family Foundation sponsored studios on Moody Radio Cleveland. WCRF Cleveland. WVMS Sandusky. WVML Millersburg. WVMN Newcastle. WVME Meadville. WVMU Ashtabula. And with the Moody Radio app or at moodyradio.org/Cleveland.
The United States Postal Service is preparing to raise the price of stamps. It's 8 o'clock. I'm Ron Eastwood, Moody Radio News. Yesterday, USPS announced the price of first-class stamps will go up from 73 to 78 cents. Domestic postcards will also increase from 56 to 62 cents. The agency says the increases are necessary to achieve financial stability, adding that the USPS prices are still among the most affordable in the world. A new canine officer is joining the police force in Richmond Heights. A 16-week-old Labrador Retriever technically joined the department back in February, but was sworn in just this week by the community's city council. And a lot of new laws are now in effect in Ohio. They include making sexual extortion a felony and tougher penalties for drunk drivers. Yet another law called the Pay Stub Protection Act requires employers to list workers' gross wages, deductions, and net pay on their pay stubs. In sports, the Guardians edged the White Sox 3-2, while the Pirates took down the Cardinals 2-1. Here's your Moody Radio Cleveland forecast. Mainly morning showers with patchy fog, highs in the upper 40s. At last check, we had light rain and 40 degrees in Cleveland, Akron and Canton 39, Youngstown reporting light snow and 37 degrees.
It's time for your moron moment.
You can find one of the tallest waterfalls in Ohio nearby at Cuyahoga Valley National Park in Northfield. Brandywine Falls is a majestic 65-foot cascading fall that flows from Brandywine Creek. It's one of the most popular attractions within the park. You can access the breathtaking waterfall by hiking the 3.6-mile Stanford Trail or the 1.4-mile Brandywine Gorge Trail, or skip the walk and drive to the boardwalk at the base of the falls. Either way, you're in for a gorgeous view at any time of year. And that's your Moron Moment. And you'll find that on our Facebook and Instagram. It's 8:03. With Moody Radio News, I'm Ron Eastwood.
Broadcasting live from the Bob Devine studio, it's Mornings with Brian. Want to join the conversation? Call or text now at 440-546-2255. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
The opinions expressed during this program represent the opinions of the participants and is given for informational purposes only. Any information provided is not intended to replace professional advice for your specific situation.
It's 8:06 on Mornings with Brian, and it's Thursday, which means Dave Szfransky is here. Hello? Hello? He doesn't know how to turn on his own mic over there. Press the on button.
I'm sorry.
Where's the on button? Oh, there it is. It's on now.
N.
I saw yours go on, Lauren, and I thought, oh, Dave's got it.
No.
Dave doesn't have it.
Dave doesn't
Found
have
that button.
Dave Szfransky is here, founder and president of Edgewater Investment Group. He answers your financial questions. Text or call 440-546-2255.
He really wants you to notice his sash, Lauren.
Yes, he has a new sash. I can't see it, but what does it say? Mr. America.
Mr. America. And I have a reason. I have another one that I brought with me, too. And I have a reason for that.
Is it for me?
Of course.
No, it's not for you. I got you a sash.
Yeah, I know. No, it's hanging on my office door.
And what does it say?
Queen of everything. I can put on the one back there that says princess or hot dish king. Those are Brian's.
Princess. Where is he today? Did he get fired?
No, he is currently driving to Atlanta.
Again? Did he get fired again?
Right.
Not this time. He's driving to Atlanta to go see Grace graduate from basic training.
Oh,
Yay!
that is special. That is
Yes.
special. I graduated from basic training
You did.
at Fort Leonard Wood. And
people say the names of the forts to me, and it means nothing.
It
to
means
me.
nothing, right?
I know it does to you, but I need you to know that you say that, and I would like to relate to you, but I can't. Can you tell me where it is?
It's hard for a lot of people to relate to this awesomeness in general.
For other reasons.
When you're Mr. America, most people don't relate to you because they would never know this level.
Yeah, because you wear socks with sandals, which makes you a shoebie. If we're talking about Rocket Power from Nickelodeon.
Right. I was in the Amazon and we were doing the podcast, and my wife took a picture of me wearing
socks and sandals.
Well, I wasn't sandals.
Were they compression socks?
No.
Well, you had been traveling.
No, I don't wear compression socks.
Hey, I have no shame in compression socks.
I'm not going to say I'm going to punch you because that would be wrong. Nobody wants to hear that.
We're on a live stream, so
Yes. Okay.
I'd have a lot of evidence. So
yes, I love it here mostly, but no, my wife took a picture of me because you have to wear flip flops on the boat when we were on the boat. You have to wear flip flops, and I had thrown on my black socks.
who makes that rule?
Well, there's like metal and.
Oh, sure. So you're saying you just have to wear shoes?
Yeah, it's more of a safety issue. And,
understood.
Things like that. So, and I had boots on earlier.
But you needed a little quick shoe.
I needed to take those socks off.
That's embarrassing.
We'll live in infamy. I actually did a sticker on my iPhone with me in the socks. It was for
no,
you guys.
And I saved it
Yeah,
as
it was
my
for
own
you
sticker.
guys. That's great. Good for you.
All right, Dave, what's going on with tariffs?
Wow.
Let's just get right to it, okay?
What?
What's going on? Yesterday, 90-day pause on not the 10% global, the other ones.
Yeah, the 10% global is supposedly going to stick. And we'll see if that actually happens in the long run. People say, well, in fact, in the Wall Street Journal this morning, it says, well, Trump blinked. Well, I don't think he did blink. I think what happened is we've been talking about these things for a long time. A lot of presidents have talked about this. A lot of people have talked about fairer trade. And, I heard the discussion with Mark Caleb Smith, who I really appreciate his opinion on this. And it was mostly in agreement with what I think, especially the part where he talked about, as a Reagan Republican, we love free trade. And the problem is we have a lot of free trade going on here, but it ain't going on anywhere else. And so people would say, well, tariffs are bad. Tariffs are bad. Well, if tariffs are so bad, if they're so destructive to your economy, why does everybody have them on us?
Mm-hmm.
So, and Mark talked about Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
And so, 45, 50% tariffs. I know when I go to Brazil, if you try and buy a GoPro camera in Brazil, it is 3 times as expensive.
Oh.
And it's not because it's a better camera. It's the same camera. It's because of taxes, tariffs, duties, things like that, excise taxes. And so I want to see free trade. But to get those people, to get those countries to agree to some level of freer trade, you have to get them to the table. You have to make this, and this is the art of the deal. This is the negotiation part that people don't like, is when you create an uncomfortable feeling in the room. When somebody is really uncomfortable. Like, I would negotiate. I was at. Do you remember Sun TV, Ron?
Sun TV.
Yeah, many, many years ago, Sun TV.
Oh, like a store.
Yeah, it was a store.
Okay.
And we had just bought a house, and we were going to buy a washer and a dryer. And they were known for negotiating with you. And so I go in, and my wife is with me, and he gives me the price. And I said, I don't like that price. This is the price that I like. And my wife looks at me and she said, would you just pay him what he's asking?
That's so embarrassing.
And I said,
I'd leave.
would you mind waiting in the car?
Yeah, gladly, actually.
I am working a deal here. This is high finance, and I need some freedom. Well, she was uncomfortable because I made him uncomfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
This is where most people fail at negotiating. They say, well, I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings. Well, in negotiating, you're going to have to break some eggs. You're going to hurt some feelings. You're going to make people feel uncomfortable.
In hopes that they come to the table and we'll bring it down a little bit.
Yes, you gotta give them a reason to want to create a better deal. Right. And I think that's what Trump did. So I don't think necessarily that he blinked. I don't know. I'm not in the room. But I think what he did is he got people to the table, and now they're at the table. Mm-hmm. And this is exactly what we wanted, because if we start tariffing industries, and the automobile industry from the late 70s, early 80s is the best example, we made it very difficult for other people to send cars here, thereby protecting our auto industry.
Right.
So what did they do? They built crummy cars because they knew they didn't have to innovate. But when you took those tariffs off, when you took those excise taxes off, and the Japanese came here and they started building a really good car, our car company said, hey, we have to innovate. And they started allocating money to innovation, product development, all those things. If you're not forced to innovate, you're not going to innovate. And that's why free trade is so good. That's what we really want. No tariffs going there, no tariffs coming here. We all get a cheaper price and a better product. So I think what you're going to see is the tariffs, as they were written, are never going to go into effect. And I've been telling people, buy the chaos, buy this chaos, because these tariffs are never going into effect.
What does that mean, buy the chaos?
When you see, we had a chance to buy the market over the last couple of weeks that we haven't had in 3 years. The last time was 2022 under the Biden administration. The time before that was 2020 in the pandemic. And when you can buy the world's best companies at highly discounted prices, and I don't want to name names because somebody's going to run out and buy that stock, whether it's right for them or not. But when you can buy the world's best companies at 20% off, 30% off, some 40% off, you have to do it. And I had people calling me saying, I just can't take this. I just can't take this. And I said, listen.
They can't take this because they're worried about what they're already invested in, seeing it plummet.
Yes. Well, for those people who were invested, you just wait it out. Stop looking at your statement.
Don't look at it. Just don't look at it.
Stop looking at your statement. And I was telling them the whole time, look, this is what's going to happen. We're going to be talking about tariffs through June. It actually came off a lot faster than what I thought. And the rise was more violent than I had anticipated to the upside. Now, we could give some of that back. That's okay. If you get another bite at this apple, bite the apple. This is how you make money in investments. This is how you do it. So you might be a little bit uncomfortable while the market's down, but if you have cash, we want to buy. I have trained my clients very well because they're calling me and saying, how do I get you more cash? And I always say, show me the money, Jerry. Show me the money. This is when we buy. It's going to be uncomfortable. It's going to be painful a little bit, but this is how you make money in the market.
Okay. It's 8:15 on Mornings with Brian. We've got Dave Szfransky, founder and president of Edgewater Investment Group. Get your financial questions in now, 440-546-2255.
Experience an unforgettable night of theater. Fellowship for Performing Arts presents The Screwtape Letters, C.S. Lewis's powerful story of spiritual warfare brought to life on stage. Join Screwtape, a senior tempter in hell, as he schemes to capture a human soul in this vivid, humorous adaptation. Don't miss The Screwtape Letters, live in Cleveland for 2 performances only, April 26th at 4 and 8 p.m. at Playhouse Square. Visit screwtapeonstage.com today. Exciting news if God is leading you to look for a trusted name in seminary education. Earn your Master of Divinity from Moody Theological Seminary in our streamlined MDiv program, now just 72 credit hours. With flexible learning options, on campus, online, or both, tailor your journey to fit your life. Prepare for transformative Christian ministry faster than ever. Start your path to purpose today at moody.edu/MDiv. Moody Theological Seminary, where faith meets your future. Millions of children throughout the world lack one simple item that could open the door to health, education, opportunity, and Jesus: shoes. This spring, Moody Radio and Buckner International are partnering with you to provide hope to kids in need throughout the world by providing new shoes and socks, critical care, and the love of Jesus in some of the most vulnerable places. Right now, more than 42,000 children are waiting for the first gift of new shoes. Give today at GiveShoesNow.com.
Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland. 6 to 9 a.m. Weekdays on 3.3.
Here I am again, back in the same place I've been so many times. Here I am again.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.20 on Mornings with Brian. It's Thursday, 8 o'clock hour. What does that mean? Dave's here.
Yay!
Yay!
Woo!
Founder and president of Edgewater Investment Group.
And
Oh, you brought two sashes today.
I brought two.
Benevolent dictator is what his new sash says.
And why do I have this on, you may ask? Thank you for asking, by the way.
No one asked.
Daria, please. I'm in the middle of a shtick right now.
Oh.
Because if you just do what I say, you will be taken care of. If you just stop talking and do what I say, you will make money.
Yes, that is what dictators say.
Exactly. But this is actually true. I'm taking care of you.
Yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah, right before they shoot you. Right before they shoot you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Well, if you want to see
And take all your
Dave's
stuff.
sashes, you can text live to 440-546-2255.
You can also text in your financial questions there, 440-546-2255. Right now we have Sheila on the line. Hey, Sheila, what's your question for Dave?
Hi.
I already retired from one,
Job,
trade,
one job.
One trade. I'm a carpenter, so I already retired from that. And I'm 62, and I want to, and I'm new at investing. I want to get an aggressive investment because I'm at my age.
Yeah. So you want to be super aggressive.
Yes.
Yeah, I get this. I get people making that mistake a lot. A lot. Yeah. And like I started way too late, so I got to make it all like in one fell swoop. And what I would tell you is this
What's
is
the word you use? Not aggressive. You say growth
oriented.
Yeah, oriented.
Growth
There
oriented.
you go.
Aggressive to me has so many negative connotations. It reminds me of like Brian and the way he hugs me. It's aggressive.
I've never seen Brian
coming
ever hug
in
you.
for that tight hug. And you're like, hey.
I've never seen Brian hug you.
The 3 back slap that.
Oh,
Christian,
he does do that. Yeah, that's bad.
So just a little aggressive. I get this a lot with what I call homeowner projects. And that's when somebody does it themselves. You know, when they redo their kitchen themselves, but the molding is never quite right. And this will get done probably in the next year, and there's sawhorses on the kitchen table. Well, homeowner projects
like 6
and
months.
portfolio. Yeah, exactly. And then people just live with it. Like they don't even notice it until company comes over and they're like, why do you have sawhorses on your kitchen table? Oh, I didn't even notice them anymore. I thought they were decorations. They're from Kime Lumber. Easy. But with homeowner portfolios, I see this a lot where people feel like because they missed out on something, they have to double down on risk. And that is the exact wrong thing to do. What you do is, if you're new to investing, you've got to start at the very beginning. There's these pillars of financial planning, and the number one thing is you got to have a budget. You got to have a budget. And it leads to something that makes sense. It doesn't always make sense at first. When people say, well, that has nothing to do with investing. But indeed it does, because if you don't have enough money to make your monthly bills and you put money in the market, you're going to have to go to the market to get money. And inevitably, the market will be down when you need to do that. So you got to start with a budget. Then you have to have an emergency fund. And then we can talk about what should you invest in. And I would say that it's okay at 62 to be growth oriented. It's okay at 72 and 82 and even 92 to be growth oriented. But within this realistic kind of like framework that we would develop about what investments would be most appropriate for you. And I don't think that you need to be really aggressive to make a lot of money in the market. You just need to be growth oriented and in the right places. Don't get squeamish when the market falls. These are things that we do, we walk through with people. And I also see on the other side of that, they say, well, I'm 62, so I got to put all my money in cash. Or I'm 62 and I got to put all my money in pork belly futures. Both answers are wrong. Somewhere in the middle lies the answer that we're going to approach. But being super aggressive, super risk-oriented, I don't think you need to do that. So sit down with a professional. That's where I would start.
Okay. Is it a good time to buy bonds?
Well, early in the week, it's Thursday, so early in the week, the bond market kind of really had a fit, and prices fell. A lot of people thought that China was dumping their inventory of treasury bonds, but I don't think they were doing that because it really hurts them far worse than it hurts us. I think if you have a long-term portfolio and you want to generate some income in there, rates are high. I think they're coming down. I think the Fed is going to be involved in the market. That will increase bond prices. I think it's not a bad time to have some allocation to some kind of bonds. If that
So maybe not everything, but have
everything.
Just a little bit of something in there.
Well, and again, it depends on what you need. If you came to me and said, "Hey, look, I'm still working. I don't need this money. I'm not going to need it for 15 years. I want it to grow," I would probably say, I don't want to put a bond in your portfolio. I want to put growth-oriented investments in there. Not super aggressive, like not silly risk-taking.
Growth-oriented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I get these calls from people. You're like, oh, my brother-in-law, right there.
It's
you should
always
just
the
stop.
brother-in-law.
Full stop. Your brother-in-law, we all know this. Your brother-in-law is not that smart. Okay.
Mine
we know
is.
this.
Yes, he is.
Let me repeat this again. Your brother-in-law is not that smart. And he's going to talk about, I got this penny stock and, it's trading at $1, but they're really
Penny
talking.
stock?
Yeah, they call them penny stock. Any stock under $5 is considered a penny stock, low price stock. So, but they're really talking a lot about it on the chat boards. You should run from things like that. Run from things like that. You don't, and I get this a lot with our athletes and entertainers where they say, well, I'm not a normal person, so I'm not going to invest normally. Oh, that means you're going to lose money faster? What? So you don't have to get out of these societal norms and investing to make money. You could do it. You could make a lot of money investing in the best companies at great prices.
Okay. And I'm going to ask you a personal question.
Oh, no.
Okay.
Are we going to be on air for it?
Yes.
Okay. It's not that personal.
Okay, I'm not that new. I was telling the team this morning, I have a car that I like to call Mrs. Clunks.
Mm-hmm.
She's a Mrs. Clunks.
Yes.
Okay. 2002, maybe 2005, can't recall. Subaru.
Well, let me
Okay.
ask you this. What
She's
color
gold.
is it? Let's
She's
start.
gold.
Okay, good.
Okay.
You know the color.
She's fancy. So
Uh-huh.
she's gold.
Yeah. And it's a Subaru.
Yes, because we paid all cash for it.
Mistake number one, Subaru.
No, it's perfect. We paid all cash for it because we were being good boys and girls.
Yeah.
We're not getting a loan.
Yeah.
But now she's Mrs. Clunks and she's having problems.
Yeah.
What do I do when I need a reliable car and I can't pay cash for a car? Or I can't pay cash for a car again that's going to be another Mrs. Clunks 2.0.
Yeah, it's a horrible time to get. You do this with loans, though. You're like
Me personally?
Yes, you're the inverse indicator of loan availability. So
It's because of the time I moved. That's why.
if
It's not my
Lauren
fault.
is getting a house loan,
do
you
it.
should pay cash. If Lauren is getting a car loan, you should pay cash.
But I'm saying I don't want to put myself in this situation again where I get another junkety car.
Yeah,
Just because I feel like I have to pay cash for it.
So, loan prices are high. The cost of money is a little higher right now. Again, like I said, I do believe it's coming down. Not as fast as we want it, but it is, I just got an eye roll for everybody listening at home. I got the eye roll. It is coming down, and it is going to happen. I think the Fed's in the market 3 times this year. I think they're going to lower rates 3 times. Mortgage prices spiked up again yesterday, and they're firmly in the 6s again. But I don't mind. This is more of a have-to thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you look at this, I would limit the damage as much as I possibly could. So you're going to take a loan for some of it. You're going to use some cash for some of it. You're going to have a trade-in for some of it. And these are things that we have to do because it's not like we have the 200-mile-an-hour train outside that we could take to the station. Right. And although there is in Florida the Bright Line train. The Bright Line train is surprising to everybody because it goes about 90 miles an hour.
Ooh.
And they're underestimating how close it is. So they call it the murder train because a lot of people
Close
are
to
trying.
what?
It goes from like Miami to Jacksonville right now. They're going to have one to Orlando from Vero and, all up and down the East Coast. But people are trying to beat this train across the tracks and they're losing. They're losing.
Oh, no.
So, yeah, you need a car here.
Yes, exactly.
You need a reliable car
Yes,
here.
exactly.
You need one that can go through winters here. This is the longest winter of my life, I'm pretty sure.
I know.
My
Don't get me
gosh.
started.
I was in Vero last week.
You've seen
and
a lot of winners.
45 approximately.
57.
That's wrong again.
No, it's true.
I don't even want to have this discussion. We have important things to talk about. My age is not one of them.
You're talking about snow, so.
I got on the plane. It was 87 degrees.
It was pretty bad.
I got off the plane. It was 28 degrees. I almost cracked.
I know.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Why
Snow on the ground. I know.
Who
It's
hates
horrible.
me? Why is
I
this
know.
happening? Yeah, so I would take a loan for some of it and just accelerate payments on it.
Okay. Thanks so much, Dave. It's 8:31 Mornings with Brian. Text or call with your financial questions, 440-546-2255.
Every day, thousands of children and families face hunger, poverty, and hardship. For 75 years, World Vision has been following Jesus and serving the poor, believing in a world where children are free from poverty and equipped to reach their God-given potential. And you can be part of this work, helping children and families gain access to essentials like clean water, education, healthcare, and nutritious food. Discover how you can show Jesus' love to children in need by visiting worldvision.org/radio.
Unifying, encouraging, networking. The Cleveland Leadership Prayer Breakfast returns on Thursday, May 8th. Join us for breakfast, networking opportunities, prayer, and an inspiring call to fearless leadership. From former Army Ranger Jeff Struker, his experience in the Battle of Mogadishu is part of the Hollywood blockbuster Black Hawk Down. To purchase tickets, text prayer to 440-546-2255 or register by April 30th at AnioLeadershipEvents.com.
4 out of 3 people struggle with math. Brian says that's 60% of the population. Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
Sorry, Dave was talking to me and distracting me, so that was his fault.
It's my fault. It's the
Everybody?
benevolent dictator's
Everybody?
fault.
Was it his fault?
Yes,
it was.
It was my fault.
It's 8:36 on Mornings with Brian. We're here with Dave Szfransky. Maybe you got to send some questions in so Dave stops talking to me. So he'll talk to you instead. 440-546-2255. We've got Mary on the line. Hey, Mary, what's your question for Dave?
Okay, Dave. My question is, well, first, I'm 59 years old, and I have no retirement savings at all. Let's see.
Are you working? Do you work now?
Yes.
Okay. And do they have a retirement plan there? They have a 401k, a simple plan, anything like that?
we have a 401k, but they do not match.
Okay. All right.
And I have about $20,000 in debt. So that's where I'm at. So I need to know where to start and how fast can I get to something. Because I do plan to retire at some point, maybe 65.
Yeah. Well, the good news is it's not too late. And it's never too late to start saving something. And so what I'd want to do is, much like the caller from earlier who was talking about being aggressive in their investments, you have to start with a budget. The debt, I'm going to assume that the debt is a relatively large percentage of your income. And so we've got to work away at that debt, especially if it's high-cost debt like revolving debt or car debt, or if you're Lauren house debt, because her loan is at 492%.
Exactly.
In fact, the bankers are sitting in a hot tub right now probably sipping champagne, thanking Lauren. They're like, send her another Christmas card. But it's April. Send it anyway. We love that girl. We love her loan. So I want to get you on a budget. I want to get the debt being worked down. And at the same time, I want to open up a Roth IRA and start saving in it. And you say, well, I'm only going to be able to save $10 a month. Well, I don't care. For me, it's the habit of savings is way more important than the amount of savings at the beginning. I need to change your mindset from a debt-oriented, not saving mindset to an asset-based saver mindset. This is the difference between people who have wealth and people who retire poor. It's a totally different mindset, and it takes a little time to change because you've been living this way for 59 years. And so we're going to buy things that increase in value, and we're going to avoid things that depreciate in value. We're going to buy things where we can see the account balances go up over time, and we're going to stop running balances on our credit card. So we're going to change your mindset. We're going to get you headed in the right direction. And I'm telling you right now, as your benevolent dictator, hear me now, believe me later, because this really does work. It really does work. And are you going to retire in a house that looks like the Taj Mahal? No. But that's okay, because really not many people are. And I don't even really believe in the concept of retirement. Anyway, as you know, I'm writing a book called The Sin of Retirement.
Yes,
And
date TBD.
It's going to be sooner than you think. Sooner than you think.
It's been about a year.
It might be today. Today might be the day.
It's release day.
It's not, but it might be. So you're going to retire to a life where you might work part-time, and then on the times that you're not working, I want you to be building back into something. Don't just sit at home and watch The View. One, that's a horrible show anyway, but I want to get us, believers, people of Jesus, to think about, okay, I've worked all my life. I've raised kids. I had a family, all the things that come along with that, marriage, all that, business, whatever. I'm going to build that. I'm going to take what God built into me, and I'm going to build it into somebody else. I'm going to give back. And that doesn't necessarily mean financially, because you got this far. You have time, talent, and wisdom. Don't die with it. Don't take that to the grave. Allow it to live on in somebody else. And, you think if somebody was a stay-at-home mom, for instance, and I hear this a lot where they say, well, I don't work. I'm like, well, quite frankly, I don't want your job. I couldn't do it. That's why I go to work. Yeah. And I love my kids and family, but that's a hard job. And you think about, you're like the CEO of a little corporation. You're planning the budget. You're
Tiny
doing
employees.
The shopping. Tiny employees, that poop their pants. So, you're the CEO that has to wipe the employees' butts. That's not the best job, I understand, but it has a lot built into it that you think, okay, you run budgets, you run menus, you do all these things. There's a lot of families that I know that don't know how to do this. Their kids go to bed at 11 o'clock. I'm like, what are you doing? Your kids at their age, they should be in bed at 8:30 every night. But you could teach young moms or young families in the church how to do this to be successful. So it doesn't matter who you are or what you've done. You've got time, talent, and wisdom. I want you to use it.
Okay. I just paid off my mortgage.
Yay!
Yay!
That's not Lauren speaking, but she's just reading. She's just reading.
No. But do I have to now look into title protection? And how is stealing a title possible?
Well, I've heard these commercials a lot. And by the way, Lauren is never paying. The bankers, when the bankers line up at Lauren's driveway and clap for her
They
when she
bring me
comes
flowers
home.
every day
Yes.
when I come home.
Like, thank you so much, Lauren. We were able to finally get that timeshare.
They're buying those flowers with my mortgage.
Yes. I've heard these commercials about title lock, and I've never personally run into this. But I do have somebody that tries to steal my identity from time to time. And we know who the person is. The police has visited this person.
Oh, my
And
gosh.
for the longest time, I could not get him to stop. And I finally...
You would think after he's found out, he'd move on to somebody else.
I know. If he worked as hard at stealing my... If he worked as hard as an honest day's living as he does at stealing my credit, he'd probably be wealthy because he works really hard at it.
And why would he pick you? You don't have an easy name to say
I
or
know,
spell.
I know. So he's bought cell phones. He was buying a car one time, and the car dealership called me. It was like right down the street from my office. They're just, hey, heads up, we got somebody in the dealership right now trying to buy a car with your social security number.
Oh, my gosh.
Like, could you just hold him there? I mean, could you
I'll
maybe
be right there.
hit him in the head with a brick? I don't know. Do something.
Make him stop, please.
Make him stop. Well, the police got called, and they're like, oh, he's an old man. He doesn't know what he's doing. I'm like, no, he knows
He
what
knows
he's
that's
doing.
not his name.
Yeah. So what I did is I got a credit monitoring service from Costco called Complete ID. And this is why I like it. You call them, like I had a problem, and I noticed, like one of my credit scores is 805, one's 825, one's 570.
Oh.
I'm like, one of these things just doesn't belong. So I call them, and lo and behold, what do I get? I get somebody in Iowa. They're like, sir, we're going to look into this, and we're going to call you back before the end of the day. And we hang up, and I'm like, I'll never hear from them again.
Yeah.
2 hours later, they call me. Like, sir, we've figured out what's going on. You have a duplicated credit file with this guy who's trying to steal your credit because he uses my social security number. So we're going to separate that credit file. It'll take 2 days. We'll call you back. I hang up. I thought, I'll never hear from them again. 2 days later, my phone rings, and they say, sir. They're always calling me sir, so I like them. And they're always like, they don't have an Indian accent. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but
you know they're here.
Yeah, I know that they're
time.
here, and I can understand them. You know, it's just, I don't know. I'm not really old-fashioned, but I do like that. They fixed it. All of a sudden, all of my credit scores are plus 800. And since that time, he has not been able to, because we locked my credit file. So if anybody tries to sign a document, change something, I get a notification. That's what I would do. I do think that wherever there's people and money, there's going to be fraud and deceit. So everybody's trying to steal your credit. People from other countries are trying to steal your credit. I just read an article about how North Korea just infiltrated another crypto exchange and stole.
Did you tell us this last week?
I probably did, but
I should know if it was a second one.
Well, there will be another one. There will be. It'll be the Iranians, because they spend an inordinate amount of money trying to cheat people, because we've basically hamstrung them. You know, they can't trade in the open market. They can't bring things here. They can't sell. They can't buy oil. They can't sell oil. So they find other ways. And it just so happens that North Korea is the largest state sponsor of counterfeit dollars. They actually have the machinery and the paper that our U.S. Treasury has. They're creating real dollars in essence and flooding the open market with it, and they're stealing. Russia does it. Iran does it. So you're going to get your credit dinged somewhere by somebody. You've got to have a credit monitoring service. That's the one I use, but I don't think you have to belong to Costco to use it. But I get a discount because I belong to Costco. So it's called Complete ID. I've used other ones that I have not been satisfied with. This one, I can tell you, I am completely satisfied.
Okay. It's 8:46 on Mornings with Brian. We're taking financial questions. Text or call with your question, 440-546-2255.
Let's see. If something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into. And that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining Medishare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. Medishare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 877-58-BIBLE. That's 877-58-BIBLE. 877-58-BIBLE.
Parents, youth pastors, are you looking for a life-changing opportunity for your teens this summer? The Experience Jesus Conference, June 23rd through 28th at Moody Bible Institute in Chicago, isn't just another event. It's a 5-day experience where high school students learn to share their faith on the streets of Chicago.
XJ grounded my faith and inspired me to share the gospel.
Register now at moodyconferences.com/XJ. Early bird rates end April 30th.
Good morning, Cleveland. Thanks for choosing us to help you start your day. It's Mornings with Brian on Moody Radio Cleveland.
Mornings with Brian. Moody Radio Cleveland. 103.3 at 6 to 9 a.m.
.51 on Mornings with Brian, doing financial questions with Dave Szfransky, founder and president of Edgewater Investment Group. Also the person where every time I introduce him, he's on his phone. And so I don't know if he's listening to me.
I'm always listening to you. All I do is wait to hear your voice. It's like Angels singing.
Right.
Angels.
All right. My banker called me and said money market is offering 4.2% on a minimum of $10,000, and the offer is available until this coming Sunday. We have over that amount in savings, which doesn't give me a whole lot of interest. Where can I put this money that gives me more interest, but I can draw out of it if necessary?
Well, it's odd that your banker would call you about this limited time offer. Act now. It won't be here forever, friends. Don't let yourself down. Any money market will give you about that yield right now. And you can get them with a checkbook. You can go to Invesco, JP Morgan. They're generally, there's Fidelity has them, Vanguard has them. There's no cost to go in. There's no cost to come out. They just want your money because they think, well, if they put their money here, maybe they'll buy other stuff. Well, don't do that. Just use the money market at 4.2%. And if there's a cost to go into that money market, don't use that money market because money markets are free. We use them all the time. There's no cost. So it's kind of odd that your banker called you for $10,000, to be honest.
Where can I put this money that gives me more interest, but I can draw out of if necessary?
Yeah, money market with a checkbook.
Just do it. Okay, great.
Yeah. Or some will have a debit card too attached to it.
I have a retirement annuity. Is there a mandatory distribution age? They already have it. Is there a mandatory distribution age?
Well, if it's an IRA in an annuity, it works exactly as every other IRA. And that's at 73, you have to do a required minimum distribution. Yes.
And that means you have to take the money out.
Well, not all of it. It's based on your life expectancy. Yeah, there's a formula like at 73, I think it's 25.6, and you divide the amount that you have in there by 25.6. Or whatever the number is, I can't remember off the top of my head, and that's how much you have to take out. There's a government table for it. And the firm will tell you how much you have to take out. They're required to tell you your required minimum distribution.
Okay. Got Uncle Sam's paperwork finished last weekend. Married, filing jointly. We have 6 W-2s between us, job changes and multiple jobs. We ended up owing...
Sounds like you can't keep a job.
They have multiple jobs. They each have multiple jobs. They're hard workers.
Okay, sorry.
We ended up owing $4,000 this year. What general recommendations should we have going forward other than just withholding more?
Well, you could, if you don't have an active retirement plan available to you or your income's low enough, you could contribute to an IRA. You could increase your savings to 401k because even though you still pay FICA tax on the 401k contribution, it comes off of your taxable income. And so that I would look to those things first and see where is it that I'm not maximizing my pre-tax savings so that I could do away with that bill if possible. That's where I would start.
We have a first-time texter.
Hey!
Yay! Hi.
Whatever.
I have a couple... No, it's not whatever. It's very exciting.
Hey! Hi!
Thank you. You changed your tone here. I have a couple of questions. I'm 25 years old, currently a nursing student. I have 2 years left until I'm making a real salary, and I have a 4-year-old. Once I start making a real salary, what do you suggest I do to start investing? We'll start with that.
Yeah, again, start with a budget, get an emergency fund, look at the retirement plans available to you at work, and then be saving outside of that also in what I call a non-qualified portfolio. It's not an IRA or retirement plan. You're just putting money into an account. For the 4-year-old, I probably would look at a 529 plan. She does not suggest that she's got a spouse in this. So we're looking at one income. So it's particularly important that somebody that is relying only on one income, there's just one person here, they've got to be what I call budget assassins. Okay, you cannot afford to be making a lot of bad decisions because you're relying on one income. So you got to be really good at this stuff. And it's way easier to start off right than it is to come back 5 years later and fix all the bad habits that we've done. Yeah. So you've got to do it right from the very beginning. It's more pressure, there's no doubt. It's not particularly fair, but life isn't fair, so welcome to life. And you are going to make a lot of money. I mean, nurses make a lot of money, and it's a very high-pressure job, and I wouldn't want to do it. I was going to be a doctor, but then I realized I really despise sick people. They gross me out. So I thought maybe I wouldn't be the best doctor.
Yeah.
I mean, like my bedside manner would be like, you are so disgusting right now. But I have a lot of admiration.
Please don't cough on me.
Sick weirdo.
Okay. Also, what do you suggest I do to bring up my credit score? Currently at 650, I have about $3,000 in debt.
Well, paying off the debt would be one thing, but also when you're younger and you have what we call a thin credit file, so you haven't had a lot of credit, every little mistake has an outweighed effect on your credit score. So you got to pay things on time. You cannot be late because the electric company, the gas company, the cable company, the phone company, they all report. They don't care about your credit score. They could care less. And so don't allow them that power over you. Pay things on time. Your credit score will improve.
I received money retroactively for year 2024 from GPO. What's that?
I have no idea. GPO. I think they're messing with me. Are you messing with me? Who is that? Miriam. She's known for messing with people. They call her Miriam the Messer.
Okay, so we don't know what GPO is, but if they received retroactive money from 2024, do I have to pay income tax on that from Social Security?
Wow. With Social Security, you're assuming that the government can catch up with this payment. I don't, you pay tax on the money in the year that you receive it. So even though it's retroactive, it was earned in 2024, but it was realized in 2025. I think you're paying the tax in 2025.
Yeah.
Because that's when you received it.
I inherited an IRA that I had to take an RMD from, but I'm not retired. My financial advisor says that I can just reinvest my RMD. Do you think now would be a good time to invest that money?
Well, the market is still down about 10% from all-time highs. And I think I think the second half of the year is really setting up to be just super great because you're going to have tariff talk off. You're going to have a budget passed. You're going to have tax cuts that are probably going to be codified into law long term. All these things, you're going to have the Fed in the market lowering rates. I think all these things make me think that you got to buy the chaos right now.
Oh, my goodness.
So, yeah, I think now's a good time.
Okay. It is 8:58. We've been with Dave Szfransky, founder and president of Edgewater Investment Group. If people wanted to learn more about you, if they needed some help, where could they go?
Well, contact you guys, and you'll put them in touch with me. And
yes.
You know what I didn't say this whole show?
I know. I don't.
Care power!
I knew it was coming.
The loudest it's ever been, actually. I did see someone asked about going through probate. We don't have time for that question today, but our friend attorney Nathan Zion is coming in on Tuesday.
Have him answer it.
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. I thought that was a great idea.
Thank you. So he's going to come in on Tuesday, and he's an estate planning attorney. He will talk with you all about that. We've been on probate for a long time now with him. So, okay. Thanks for your time, Dave.
Hey, whatever.
Oh, my gosh. It's been Mornings with Brian. Again, Brian's out the rest of this week and a couple days next week. If you think of him, pray for him. They're driving right now to Georgia. We will talk to you tomorrow.
Serving Sandusky, Cuyahoga, and Ashtabula counties and beyond. This is Moody Radio Cleveland. WC